Pundit is the football trivia game, ideal for the football head in your life. Every sale of Pundit using the code LIONS at checkout earns you a 10% discount plus a donation for the Lions Food Hub. Visit punditgames.co.uk to order your copy or visit @punditgames on Twitter.
You're listening to Achtung, Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Bermondsey. Accept no substitute.
Good evening, dear listeners. Welcome to Friday Night Lights in South Bermondsey. The moon shines bright above the Docker stand opposite me. It's the visit of Norwich City to the Den tonight. A tough test, in my opinion. I'm just sitting in the semi-empty Den at the moment. It's a sellout. Another sellout. Can you believe that? Announced earlier on this afternoon, all tickets sold. I think that's probably a better way to put it. The Boxing Day match against QPR was an official sellout, but there are plenty of blue seats dotted around the Den. Whether that'll be the same tonight, I don't know. That was a good win versus QPR a couple of days ago, but we're back very, very quickly to the home of football here at Zampa Road. Your team news tonight, dear listeners. Sean Hutchinson comes into the side. Apparently Wes Harding has a bit of a knock and sits this one out. Actually, he's not even on the bench. So Lions line up. They're going to be Sarkic in goal. Going to be a back line of Hutchinson, Cooper in the centre, Murray Wallace on the left. I'm going to guess Ryan Leonard on the right. Was that a 4-4-2? I don't know what formation these days, listeners. George Saville and George Honeyman in the two midfielders. Then in front of them, I'm going to go with a 3 this time around. We're going to have Brooke Norton-Cuffy, Zian Fleming, and Idemo Marku. Looks like it's going to be Tom Bradshaw up front. Whether that's a 2-4, 4-4-2, 3-4-1, I don't know. You take your pick. Sitting on the bench tonight, Bart Bielkowski, Danny Mack, Kevin Nisbet on the bench, Billy Mitch, Ryan Longman, Alan Campbell, forgotten man. Been talk that he's not featured and didn't feature at all in the squad on Boxing Day, but there he is, sat on the bench. Joe Bryan, who's been classy every time he starts, he may still be in recovery. Duncan Watmore, I've really liked the look of, but maybe he's getting a bit of a rest tonight. And Romain Esse. So there's your Lions line-up, such as I can fathom it out. Yeah, Friday night football. It comes at you thick and fast. We're going to be back in action again on New Year's Day, which is Monday. So this is a big test, in my opinion. I thought, obviously, first test was passed with that victory after a scruffy game, but we prevailed over a poor QPR side at home here just a couple of days ago. This is going to be a tougher test. Middle table placed Norwich City. We'll see how we perform against the higher placed side. I mean, we got stuffed, absolutely slaughtered, didn't we, at Carrow Road, but that was more about our lack of application, and it was almost a no-show from the Millwall side back in August. Really did mark the beginning of the end for Gary Rowett and his era. Famously, of course, that's where we had Millwall fans joining in with Norwich City fans to sing Harry's football was shit, which I think probably was the moment of truth for all concerned. So that was the beginning of the end for Gary Rowett. Since then, we've had the arrival of Joe Edwards with his initial talk of Bermondsey Barcelona style front foot football and all of that. That's been replaced by more realistic talk in the local press of doing the hard work stuff first and foremost, defending well, and then looking to take your chances when they come, which is more realistic in its approach. So there we are. It's about half an hour before kick-off at the moment, and we'll be back when the two teams are coming out onto the pitch. So until then, bye for now. Well, dear listeners, it's another sellout, only with empty seats. I think probably it's more... We need another word for a sellout. All seats have been sold. That might be some better way to describe it. But nevertheless, I've never known so many occasions upon which every seat has been sold in my Millwall-going career. Here come the two teams, as you will have gathered. Groupon stand is filling up nicely. Norwich City in their familiar yellow and green. Millwall, naturally, what else? In dark blue shirts and white shorts. It's a windy night. The flags are fluttering stiffly in the breeze opposite on the Docker stand. The moon was out brightly. It's a clear night, so it might get a little bit cooler. It's not too bad at the moment. This is a big test for Millwall, dear listeners. I think if we can get a win tonight, so we can get a result, which is going to be a big ask. Norwich are sitting in 12th place in the table, 2 points off of the playoffs, a big condensed pack going up to the playoffs. Millwall obviously in 20th. Now have a 6-point cushion to QPR in third relegation spot after that fine win on Boxing Day. So big test tonight. I mean, a win will be wonderful, Wonderland. A draw will do me. I mean, I'd expect that, to be honest, if I'm going to be... we can talk, can't we, you and me, listeners? We can be realistic. I think a draw will be a good result. A loss will slightly get us stumbling on the path of recovery. Almost like... you've been to your Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, but you've gone back in the pub straight afterwards, that kind of feeling. So, big test tonight, dear listeners. We're on a 3 games unbeaten run, dear listeners, so we'll want to preserve that, won't we? Can't remember the last time we had that. Long while ago. Norwich City, as I said earlier on, was, of course, the game where Gary Rowett met his final days began, the last days, like Adolf Hitler in his bunker, when the Steiner's army didn't exist. It was a bit like that. You know the reference I'm talking about. Millwall to kick at the away end in the first half, as per the teachings of the Venerable Bede, writing in Jarrow Monastery in 9th century Anglo-Saxon England. When he was knocking at his Anglo-Saxon chronicles, he said, Millwall shall attack the away end in ye first half. Unusual thing to write, given that we didn't exist, but he wrote it. Ian Fleming to kick us off. Away we go, dear listeners. Thankfully, a few empty seats around me. I am no economist, listeners. I make no bones about it. I have a basic knowledge of profit and loss. Some, knowledge of the ins and outs of running a business. I do understand that selling seats is an income boost here in the Groupon stand, but I do get Cold Blow Lane resentful over our seats being taken by outsiders. That's the Cold Blow Lane in me. Now, overcoming my intelligent persona, an early break here. This is Norwich coming down the centre whilst I waffle. This is the 3 on the right-hand side. We're just in barely a minute into the game. Ball flashing around. There's a shot on target picked up. No power, thankfully, by Sarkic. Yes, I do understand the need to put bums on seats, listeners. I'm not a fool. Not entirely a fool, anyway. But it's difficult not to yearn for the old days. And these are the internal battles that I fight constantly with myself. Huge pump forward from Sarkic. Bit of a return to basics, according to the articles on News at Den and Southwark News. Joe Edwards speaking to the Southwark News. There's a break here. There's Norwich shot from distance. That's well wide left. The player was in a load of space there. We're going to have to pick them up. They made a monkey of us back up at Norwich up in August, which was partly self-inflicted, of course, but they're a decent side, even though their mid-table position might belie that. Speaking to the South London press, Joe Edwards said the basics are what we want to be about before we talk about it playing any football. So they need to be there, the basics. So forget all that ticky-tack stuff that he arrived with. This is about good old-fashioned Cold Blow Lane values, dear listeners. That's how I'm taking it anyway. So we're not afraid of a pump forwards anymore. Yeah, the lead singer of Green Day, who I understand are a beat combo, somewhat popular with the kids, listeners. Billy Joe Armstrong name-checked us in an interview with The Guardian, naming us as a kind of a centre, a font of British culture, as he put it. Which is fabulous publicity for the club, fabulous. He said, get yourself down the Den and see raw British culture, or words to that effect. You can't buy that kind of publicity, listeners. That's a beautiful run by Marku on the right-hand side. It's a long cross towards Murray Royce at the far post. Back into the box, the goalkeeper takes from the attentions of Tom Bradshaw. Really nice run down the right side by Idemo and Marku. Dear listeners, we are about 4 minutes, going towards 5 minutes into the game. I don't know a huge amount of Green Day music, kids out there. American Idiot, that's one track, but after that, I'd struggle to hold a conversation with you. But, apparently they're a popular beat combo on MTV. Does that still exist, MTV? Along with Dire Straits and Don Henley. In 6, maybe 7 minutes. I'm going by my watch. That's why it might sound a little inaccurate to your ears, dear listeners. Apologies. Since they rejigged the scoreboard screen, I can't see the time. So I've got to go by my watch. First world problems, but there we are. So the 31 and the 17 standing over the ball. It's fairly central. It may have a shot. Need to be a good one from this distance. It was a good one. Wide left, just. I think Sarkic had a hand near it, but it went wide left. It was a decent strike, though. Ball out wide from Honeyman for Omar Cooper. That's going to run through to the salmon pink-clad goalkeeper. Salmon pink. Some of the colours they put goalkeepers in these days are would shock London society in the 1890s. Put it that way, listeners. They might even get a trial at the Old Bailey for, accusations of immorality. Thankfully, our goalkeeper's wearing a very masculine shade of sky blue. 10 minutes in, dear listeners. It's been a bright, if ineffective start. Neither side having a chance so far, but Norwich look like they want to play football, and we've not looked too bad either. Probably a tad more direct than we've might have expected in the initial phases of the Joe Edwards era, but this is now Brook Norton-Cuffy on the right side. He's got Idemo overlapping him. That's gone for a corner, right-sided corner. Nice move. In it comes. It's fisted away, he misses. That's going to go for a goal kick. Norwich playing the ball out from the back in the modern style. Just going to go quiet for a moment whilst I admire the beautiful football. Oh, look at that. Backwards and forwards in their own half. There's a good few plastic seats visible around the Den, listeners. I mean, it's a pretty good crowd, don't get me wrong, but I think we're going to have to start distinguishing between the word sellout, i.e. all tickets sold, and the number of clicks on the turnstiles as people actually do come into the Den, because there's a clear gap between the two. Towards the 15th minute. It's an open game so far, the listeners, 0-0. Jameson, Ginger and Lime. Oh, I fancy that. Advertising on the illuminated hoarding. Really fancy one of them. Enjoy it with the crack. I will. I think I might do later when I get indoors. This is Norwich going down the left side. Cut into the penalty area. Dangerous situation. Edge of the penalty area. Get a block shot. That's a shot high over the bar from the 23. To the derision of the cold blown. There was a moment of danger there as they came down the left side, but thankfully we've dodged it. Just bombed past 15 minutes, dear listeners. Norwich doing a lot of holding the ball on the back line, looking for spaces. Millwall holding their shape, not giving them their spaces. Here they come now on the right side. This is the 3 and the 15. A lot of short passing, backwards and forwards, back to the halfway line. It is the modern style, dear listener. Ball over the top, trying to find space. This is the 31. Gets on the right side of the penalty area. There's a little moment of danger. I think Murray will bring red more blue shirts than he was able to find yellow there. There's a chance for Millwall to break those. There's Idemo Marco on the right side. We're coming towards 18 minutes. No one with him. Brook Norton-Cuffy overlaps across the ball. It's 1-0. Millwall! Tom Bradshaw! Ball across on the right side by Brook Norton-Cuffy. Stubbed in by Tom Bradshaw at the far post. 1-0 Millwall. Nice move. Nice move out of defence. Good break, fast break. Front foot football. By the time this footage goes out, you'll have seen it on your YouTube, but do take a moment to admire the break. That's a wonderful break by Idemo. Crossing from Brook Norton-Cuffy, then touched in at the far post by Tom Bradshaw. Nice stuff, Millwall. That's got the crowd to life. Ball down the middle for the Norwich forward on the D. Will dispossess him somehow. A little hint of they were looking for a penalty there. Not going to get it, but they are back in possession. This is Zian. Free kick for against Honeyman there, so that's a Millwall free kick. Good chance to break play up. Just take a moment. Brook Norton-Cuffy fighting for the ball. This is Idemo. Lovely take and turn. Did you hear the whoosh of the crowd there? That was a thing of beauty. This is now Zian Fleming in middle. He's got Murray overlapping on the left. Zian stops, taking the sting out of it slightly. There's a moment I thought the ball might have gone to Murray, but he didn't like it. We keep possession on the left though. There's a lorry, rubbish lorry, just departing the incinerator over the back of the Cold Blow Lane end. with all of its lights flashing. So they must be working day, I suppose, so they're operating. But I'm always reminded of the final scenes of Soylent Green, a early 70s shocker where dead bodies have been turned into protein food for a burgeoning world population. And every time I see the cell chip in operation, it reminds me of the final scenes of that dystopian science fiction movie, Soylent Green. These are the things that go through my head. I'm sorry, listeners, I have to share them with you. It's my therapy, this podcast. There's a long throw into the box, the Millwall box. That was a danger. Ball bounced across our 6-yard box. It's falls to the 31 on the right side. Murray stands his ground. I think it's going to be a throw. We're approaching 29 minutes. It's been an excellent start for Millwall. Wouldn't have, beyond my wildest dreams, that would be leading at this point. And looking pretty good on it as well. So, good start. Norwich are playing this possession football. So far, they've not carved out a chance. So, all good. Norwich struggling to get across it at the moment. This is a 17. That's into Savile. Millwall will clear it. Whether we can retain possession from that clearance is another matter as they pick it up on the halfway line. Some really strong defending so far from Millwall, but we're just not retaining possession further forwards. Be my criticism at the moment. We're coming towards 39 minutes. Mill very much in this game, obviously leading, but Norwich are pressing us. That's a huge pass forwards for rightwards, actually. It's for Ronald, who finds Brooke Norton-Cuffy now come down the right wing. The defender's trying to bundle him over. He stayed on his feet somehow. He's still got the ball at his feet. How does he do that? I don't know. He reminds me so much of Paul Ifill. An ability to stay on his feet under pressure. And before Paul Ifill, Trevor Lee, back in the 70s, he also had an ability to somehow stumble through challenges and finish up with the ball at his feet without quite knowing how he did it. And Brooke has a touch of the Trevor Lee about him. For all you older listeners out there, I think there are quite a few older listeners. This is Millwall now working, just about to say working space well on the right side. Just as I said that, the commentator's curse, Honeyman misplaced the pass and Norwich bring away. About 44 minutes, I'd say. Maybe a minute or two added at the end of this half. Been a pretty good half so far for Millwall, in fairness. Leading by that fine finish from Tom Bradshaw. We've contained Norwich well, really. I think that's probably the review of the half from my point of view. I'd say that we've moments where we've got forwards looking dangerous. We've not really created any other chances other than the goal-scoring one. There's a ball forwards. This is now Brooke on the right side. He floats it back into the middle. It falls to Zian Fleming. Oh, great save by the 28 goalkeeper. Should have done better there, Zian Fleming. That was a fine chance. Free on the ball. Battered around by the goalkeeper. He really should have done better there, I think, Zian Fleming. There's half-time. Good half, Millwall, really. Leading. It should have been, would have been better still if we'd have got that late chance from Zian Fleming. The Lions lead it by Tom Bradshaw's goal. Overall, a half of containment of Norwich. We're doing very well, so good to see. Half-time, Millwall 1, Norwich City 0.
Achtung, Millwall.
We're just waiting for the entry of the Lions for the second half, dear listeners. Norwich already out there. Here they come now, Millwall. Pretty good half. I mean, leading 1-0. Possibly. You talk about how whether that was a good save or a poor shot by Fleming at the hub. It was on target. It's all he's got to do. But I'd probably go with good save, thinking about it in the reflection of the moment. But this is a big opportunity for Millwall. Can we press ahead against the mid-table side and pull off a good home win and give us a really powerful tonic as 2023 closes. It's not been a great year vintage-wise for Millwall wine, but this would be a good finish and possible start of a green shoots of recovery, to borrow Doug in Sweden's words. Away we go, the green shoots of recovery. I like that phrase. Norwich are straight away onto the attack and hoofed clear by Millwall. So yeah, the final game of 2023. So we're going to take this chance to wish you all a happy new year. That's Sunday, isn't it? New Year's Eve Sunday. 2023 hasn't been a brilliant year in Millwall history. I think that's probably consensus around the Den. We were really well placed though going into April. When you look at the results, probably the high point of the end of last season being that 3-2 win at home against Sheffield United. Probably the high point of the recent Gary Rowett period. I think he called it Millwall chaos. After that though, the tailing off towards the end of last season, including of course the utterly shocking display to go from 3-1 up against Blackburn to losing 4-3 with the chance of Premier League playoff football on the table, to relinquish that. I mean, that was relinquished over many games. I think we've got 2 victories from our final 9-10 games, something like that at the end of last season. So really the rot set in, the Rowett regime much earlier, really, for whatever reason. It remains beyond me. Carried on into this season. The game at Norwich we've mentioned already, 3-1 loss, where we really looked appalling, and then the crowd banter, which probably finished Gary Rowett's time off. The arrival of Joe Edwards has promised a new way of playing. It's been a scruffy season so far. But so far, on the back of the recent performances, we're starting to see something. So yeah, very, very tentative green shoots so far, dear listeners. But personally, I won't be unhappy to see the back of 2023 from a football perspective. Great ball by Zian Fleming for Idemo to run onto on the right side. He's had to go a touch right than he might have wanted. He's got Brooke Norton-Cuffy flying in. That's got Tom Bradshaw. Oh, just scuffed wide right. Howes for a penalty from Brooke Norton-Cuffy's shot that I don't think it was. I think it was slammed into his chest. I don't think you're going to get that in this modern world, but that was the first time take by Bradshaw, and it just didn't quite catch it right. It's gone right. Big chance, Millwall. Another chance. Another ball right was they're finding space now for Idemo on the right side. Player Clatton in the middle. Idemo still got the ball. Ball's blasted at the near post. Goalkeeper bats it round. They're meant for in the middle, but he went for it. The boy is brimming with confidence. I didn't see a player went down flying in the middle of that. I think that was Ryan Leonard surging forwards. Crowd roared in anger at that. The referee's been spoken to by Murray Wallace, I think. It's a right-sided corner. Well, that's 57 going towards 58 minute. In it comes. It's a deep one. Taken away from the head of Jake Cooper. This is Brooke Norton-Cuffy shoot the crowd. He had no chance. What's the referee blown up for there? Goalkeeper gone down for something? Defender's gone down for something. Crowd incensed. I didn't see what happened there, listeners. I'm not sure anyone did. He's up now. He's all right. The referee's losing control of this game. He don't know what he's doing out there, listeners. It'll be a drop ball. George Honeyman. Some of our new fans are loving that song about the tractor song. Drop ball. This is Honeyman. It's underway. This is Leonard. It gives Norwich obviously a chance to rebuild their structure and shape. Nice ball wide by Jake Cooper. There's Millwall starting to make Norwich run round after the ball. Nice stuff, Millwall. This is Wallace on the left. This is Zian just inside him. Ball floats across. There's Brooke Norton-Cuffy. Free header. No power. Big chance. Let's hope that don't come back to haunt us, listeners. 56 minutes. That was a huge chance of Brooke Norton-Cuffy. I don't think he's used to heading the ball particularly. Put no power on that at all. It's been a long while since we've had a good, exciting Friday night or night match. Generally been damn squibs for a long while. This is a good one so far, though. I'm hoping Mill don't rue those missed chances, though. Norwich will feel, if they're realistic, they should be a couple behind. They're not. They're only one goal behind, so they're still very much in this. Norwich now on the break. It's the Alamo in there, listeners. There's challenges going in left, right and centre. It's a full-on game, proper game. It's good stuff. Bradshaw urging the crowd on, which is good stuff. There's 25 now. Ball in from the left. That should be Sarkic takes. Nice. Always a little bit of fisticuffs A little bit of fisticuffs. The crowd are surging forwards. What's going on there? Jake Cooper's gone down. I did not see that at all. Well, the Norwich player all over Jake Cooper there. Crowd wanted the boy off. I didn't see what happened there. Jake Cooper's on the floor. I've been bashed on the back of the head or something. I said frustration was creeping into the Norwich game. Now there's Norwich players looking to... Oh, Honeyman's in there. Norwich players pushing each other about. It's drama at the den, dear listeners. This is what we want. This is the 10. Ooh, yellow card. Crowd not happy with that, I can tell you. All I could see was a scuffle of bodies in there. Number 10 gets a yellow card. The referee, I think, bottled it there. And the size of Jake, the 10 is game, I'll give him that much. Saville's having a word now. And so's Honeyman. There's Jake having a go. The crowd are loving it. This is what they want. A bit more pushing, a bit more words in the middle. Yellow card for Jake. Referee's losing the plot, I think. Honeyman's going to be having it in the car park the way he's going on out there. He's still having a go at that 10. Hutchinson's talking to the referee. Jake on a yellow card there, listeners. We're on about 62 minutes. I'll tell you what, Honeyman's a bloke you'd want on your side on a row. He goes flying in. He was a tiny little bloke, but you don't care who he goes in against. I'll tell you that much, listeners. A couple of substitutions going on, listeners. I shan't dwell upon who's come in and who's come out. They're all Norwich slags. We don't care. Yeah, the 10's come out for the 11. Gets him out of trouble, I suppose. I think he was losing the plot. Best drama we've seen down here since the that Sheffield United game I was talking about earlier on. Back in February. Proper den drama. It's been a really full-blooded game. It's been such a long while since we felt this blood pumping through our veins here at the Den. It's really wonderful to see it. It's so reminiscent. It's like remembering who you are. If Joe Edwards produces this kind of performance each fortnight rather, then yeah, you're gonna. Let's call it a sellout. Fuck it, let's call it a sellout. I don't care how many blue seats there are. This is enjoyable stuff. This is Norwich on the attack here. That's hoofed clear by George Saville. I think that's going to go for a throw-in on the right side. No, yes it is. But no, good performance so far. Whatever the result how it finishes, halfway through the second half now, I'd say this is a proper Millwall performance tonight, listeners. Anyway, long throw for Norwich whilst I wax lyrical. We're on about 67 minutes, 15 with a long throw. He's had a decent long throw, actually. That's bouncing around, it's scuffed clear. Tom Bradshaw will run after that, but it's going to come back to a yellow shirt. They're back on the attack. There's a ball in to the middle. There's Sarkic, takes it with aplomb, dear listeners. Nicely done, Sarkic. I'm starting to stare at my watch every few minutes. We're at that kind of phase of the game now. We've still only got a slender one-goal lead. We've done really well. We've had a couple of great chances to improve on that lead. That would have made me a lot more comfortable. But as it is, a slender one-goal lead. Hoof cleared by George Saville. Only as far as the edge of the penalty area. This is back to another yellow shirt, unfortunately. So we're still under the cosh. Great run and tackled Ryan Leonard. Listen to the applause for that. Killing off some danger as a loose ball for a moment on the edge of the D. He made a run and a tackle and got it cleared. The crowd loved it. Real committed performance. Murray Wallace putting the work in over there. He's been criticised this season, and we all know his limitations, but tonight he stood up tall. Putting a lot of effort in on that left side. Physically strong on the ball there, and the referee gives a free kick there. Nice. Good work, Murray Wallace. Free kick, nice little take and a little dribble by Murray Wallace. He's a man possessed tonight, dear listeners. Possessed by the spirit of the Cutty Sark, the wispy kind of spirit that haunts the Scottish lowlands in the wind. It's got inside Murray tonight. It's a good performance, Murray Wallace. 80 minutes. It's nicely done by Kevin Nisbet. He saved a kind of a wild ball and brings Millwall into the attack now. This is George Saville. He's got Ryan Longman on his right side. What can he do? Can he get a cross in? He's taking his man on. Drifts in. Shot on goal. Oh, it was battered away by the goalkeeper. That was on target. Nice little shot into the right side of the penalty area. Nice work, Ryan Longman, dear listeners. This is Jake Cooper. Mill on the left of the Norwich penalty area. Ball fired across. This is Ryan Longman. He loses out there. That's good. Jill Saville takes his man. It's a yellow card. That's the second yellow, isn't it? So he's off. He clipped his man. There was a yellow card, listeners. Mill down to 10 men for the last few minutes of this game then. That's the first red card I can remember seeing from a Mill player for a long while. 6 minutes. Danger zone for Mill, isn't it? The 90-plus zone. Number of goals we've conceded this season. Long ball forwards from Norwich. One last go for Norwich. Beautiful. Oh, free kick for Norwich. Longman, I thought, got the ball there, listeners. It's going to be a danger free kick. This will be last chance saloon for Norwich City. There we go, last chance saloon. 26 takes it. Oh, it's gone wide. I thought it floated in for a minute, listeners. My heart took a flutter. I don't mind telling you. This must be, we're well into the last few seconds of the game now, listeners. Magnificent night at the Den. Under the lights. Best midweek game I can remember in a long time. Wonderful performance. Real Millwall steel. It's so wonderful to see it back again. The crowd have responded. Huge tonic for Joe Edwards. There! Millwall 1, Norwich City 0. Wonderful, magnificent performance, dear listeners. Man of the match, I'll take your pick, half a dozen players out. I'm going to go with George Honeyman, but honestly, that was a wonderful team effort. The goal from Tom Bradshaw sailed in the first half. I'm going to guess Joe Edwards will be both well pleased with that performance, and also we'll probably have a word or two about missed chances because that could have been settled a lot earlier. As it is, it's time for Mr. Byfernell's personal copy of Status Quo's greatest hits to come on. There we go, listeners. A magnificent night at the Den, the kind of night you've forgotten about. So long has it been since we felt it. It's wonderful to feel it back again. I really enjoyed that performance. We'll be back after these messages.
Achtung, Millwall.
Huge welcome on the show in the aftermath, the unfamiliar afterglow of a victory, morning celebration, celebratory mood. It's show regular Mr. Ben Anthony. How you doing, Ben?
Hello, Nick. Yeah, I'm good. Much better for the result yesterday and that performance yesterday.
What a performance.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I've been enjoying social media all morning. It feels like a real vintage Millwall performance. Back to the old school is what I've written on my notes here. It feels like the best performance I've seen in a long time by a Millwall side. And I include probably that Sheffield United win last season. I think this one feels a bit more momentous to me. How did you see it?
Yeah, it absolutely massive. It felt like a sort of dark cloud has lifted from over the Den, and the fans could feel it, and the players seemed to feel it, and there was just sort of a more fight about us. There was more belief about us, I thought, and particularly 10-15 minutes into the game, Norwich had a fair bit of control, but hadn't
Yeah.
really managed to do anything with it. And I think the Millwall players started to realise that if they believe in themselves and battle a bit, they could dominate this game. And then they started creating chances of their own, and it went from there. Yeah, brilliant game.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I make you right. What was really pleasing was it was controlled physicality. I mean, we pushed them, and they actually snapped in the heat of the Den in the end with their overreactions and all the rest of it. We'll come on to that later, but that was very much what I think of as old school Millwall, because they're an expensively assembled side. Ben, I was just looking at Josh Sargent, who came into the game late yesterday. He did damage to us up there at Norwich, but he's nearly a £10 million player. They've got others in their side. They've assembled an expensive side there, but we really made them look. We nullified them, and I think that's a real tribute to the squad, the team that took the field, but also Joe Edwards, because it's been a difficult start for him, and that must be feel like a. You talk about a black cloud. I think that black cloud is called the Gary
Yeah,
Rowett cloud. It was lifted from the den last night, wasn't it? Dispersed.
yeah. I don't. You mentioned Sheffield United. That's the only one you can sort of compare. I don't remember seeing a
Yeah.
performance like that under Rowett. Um,
Well, he called that Millwall chaos that day, so he didn't like it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we didn't see much of it after that. I think what's refreshing about last night is that was Millwall chaos for Gary Rowett. There was a good Millwall performance that day, but you kind of had a sense you weren't going to see it again because he didn't believe in it. But I do get a sense that Joe Edwards sees the value, without going too far, of the den and bringing the crowd into play, because he mentioned it in his post match interviews. He wears his heart on his sleeve, Ben. You can tell he's a happy man, and I like that in a manager. He looks like he enjoyed himself last night.
yeah. He's committed to the passion of the game, as well as sort
Yeah,
of the tactics and the sort of the logic. Yeah, you're right. He does have an emotional side to him, and as long as he doesn't sort of make too many key decisions based purely off emotion, then that can help him along the way. And yeah, he can use it as an asset. I think, particularly at a ground like the Den.
I thought his substitutions made sense. I mean, sometimes I think there's been one or two words online about his substitutions, but he's very much rotating a pattern now. You kind of get a sense of why people are coming out. What apparently Wes Harding had a knock last night, so they're resting him because it is a very condensed period of football. But you do get a sense that the changes are making sense now. I don't know if that's going too far with it, but last night's win will do Joe Edwards' reputation a power of good at the Den, because I think there were one or two question marks starting to appear over the Den, like that black cloud we were talking about.
Yeah, it
Um,
clicked for me last night. He is rotational manager. So there was sort of there's been a lot of talk, particularly around Ian Fleming, hasn't there? And he
yeah,
sort of gets dropped for one game, and there was a, most people were looking at it going, oh, he's been dropped because of his form, and I think that doesn't seem to be what it is. I think he's using what is a small, quite injury-prone squad, and I think he's going to try and make the best of them by giving them a bit of a rest here and there, and dropping them to the bench and putting other players in. And players like Watmore and Fleming, for example, are being rotated. Um,
yeah.
and that does make sense with a squad like ours. We've had so many injuries, and it's because we've got quite a small squad. I think he's trying something different to get some longevity out of it, which is quite
Yeah, I
sensible.
mean, there's a few players that, I mean, you've mentioned the names there, Fleming, but also Watmore, but they seem to be 60-minute players now, don't they?
Mm.
You give them 60 minutes, and there's probably the batteries are starting to get down to the red zone, bring them out, and I think that's good management. I like that. Certainly making the most of what we've got. We're not going to have a squad that can, go any further than that possibly. I want to mention the defence last night, Ben. I thought the defence, which I've been a bit critical of, I thought they looked a bit fragile in previous games, but not last night. I thought they were rocks against a decent Norwich side. I mean, I know it's easy in the aftermath to look at yourselves, but they're not a bad side. They had some early chances, but we stood really, really strong. That's Cooper, Hutch, Ryan Leonard, and Murray Wallace. I think they all produced massive performances last night.
Yeah, back to their best for me. I thought.
Yeah.
It's been said before. Cooper plays as well as the sort of the player next to him, and
Yes, he does.
with
Yeah.
Hutch, there was a confidence about Hutchinson last night that he had control of this game, and
Yeah.
and it just brought a calmness to that back line, and a sort of they were solid, and Cooper sort of locked into that and produced a performance as well. The one you missed out as well, I know he's a bit more attacking, is Brooke Norton Cuffy.
Yeah, well, I'm going to come on to him.
Yeah,
'Cause, I mean, he's a master of his
yeah,
craft. I
and
think he's a real talent, that boy.
they all say don't fall in love with a lone player, and you mustn't fall in love with a
I
lone
can't
player.
help it.
But
My heart's gone there.
what I think is just enjoy him while you can, because he is
Yeah.
unbelievable. The performances he's putting in, and he is only young, so he does have a bit of a mistake in him, and he does have a wrong decision every now and again. But he's fantastic, isn't he?
Wonderful, wonderful player. I think you're right. He's going to be a holiday romance, listeners. I'm afraid you're going to have to say goodbye to him at the airport at the end of the season, because I can't see I can see Arsenal making use of him. He's developing, and last night's experience of players like Norton Cuffy, but also our own, Idemo Marku and the whole side. To be honest, I mean, including Fleming. Last night, that was the full den experience, and that's got to be, if you're in football. I mean, I know some footballers treat it like a job, Ben, and they say, you leave it behind. But if I was a footballer, that's what I would want. That would be the narcotic for me, because that's what you must crave. That's the theatre, isn't it? That's the big time. What an experience for a player like Brook Norton Cuffy. I know he's played at a higher level, but that was raw last night. The physicality. Obviously, we went a goal up. Let's deal with a goal, because that was a wonderful move out of defence and a really, really sweeping, fast-paced move. That's, I'm guessing, is the front foot football that Joe Edwards has been talking about. We haven't really seen so far, but we did see it in that move there. It was a brilliant goal.
Yeah, three things to that goal. In that counter attack, Imaku had brilliant control of the ball and ran
He
a
did.
fair distance himself. And in the past, you've seen him come into those situations and not wait, and he's just then tried to have a shot
Yeah,
or ultimately lose the ball. And you
yeah.
can see sort of learning a lesson there, and he waited and waited and waited for Norton Cuffy, who has
Brook Norton Cuffy. Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
bolted down the wing to try and catch up with Imaku and do the overlap. And if you get a chance to watch it back, watch the sprint from Norton Cuffy. He's pretty much done the whole length of the pitch just to try and get that overlap in.
yeah,
Imaku's played it perfectly, and then it's a really, really clever cross, and
yeah.
Bradshaw is in exactly the right place, and it's sort of not quite back post, but it's that sort of same that classic Bradshaw move, the slide in behind the keeper,
In the 6-yard box.
and
Yeah,
that's where he's so
poaching goal.
dangerous. And it's
Yeah,
such a well worked goal, and it's a increasingly a Millwall goal, because we've seen that. I mean, that was kind of both goals for QPR, wasn't it? It was back post, and yeah,
yeah.
really, really
Moves from
fantastic.
the back. It was a kind of football. The move. I've watched it back this morning. I think in real time, I hadn't appreciated what you've just said there. That overlapping run by Brook Norton Cuffy. That's Olympic sprinting
Yeah,
level stuff, listeners. I mean, it's practically a 100-yard sprint he's made there to make a crucial cross. It was well placed, and then, as we've said, finished nicely by Tom Bradshaw, a player that's what a servant he's been for us, really. Tom Bradshaw. I'm reading online that his contract may be up at the end of the season. Who knows where he might go from there. But what a servant he's been for us. He does not stop running. He's like the ever ready, was it the Duracell battery, not ever ready, that didn't ever stop. Wonderful player, wonderful finish actually from a really flowing move. And well, more of that. We did actually miss a couple of chances. There was a chance at the end of the first half where I thought Fleming possibly could have done better. We had a kind of an open shot on goal. Goalkeeper batted it away. So whether that's a good save, Ben, or you know, Fleming should have done better. I don't know, but I would have expected him to put that one
I
away.
thought it was a good save, because
Yeah, I thought their goalkeeper did well. In
yeah, and
fairness, he was a decent looking keeper.
that's pretty much a volley. The amount of times you see that fly nearly out the ground, he got it
Yeah,
on target, and I don't think you can ask much more of him for me.
no, and a good save later. Actually, I think he made a good save off of Longman. That was late in the game. It
Mm.
was a shot on target, which he did well to get over for. And while we're on the subject of goalkeeping, we're praising the Norwich keeper. Let's praise Marty Asarkic, because he's looking increasingly solid. Solid defence, solid goal-looking goalkeeper.
Yeah,
Increasingly, game by game, he's coming into his own.
yeah, yeah,
Ben, I'm starting to see why we've signed him. Now I was a doubter.
yeah.
Put my hand up. I
Couple of
was a
really good
doubter.
saves from him, and sort of just controlled moments. Kept that back line calm as well. He's quite
Yeah.
vocal. I've noticed. I wish he could kick a ball though. He does. He can't kick. I don't know if you've noticed.
Well, it was funny. His distribution skills too early in the morning for me, listeners. That's what he was supposed to be signed for. But I do agree. He looks calm. He takes the ball well. A couple of crosses came in where you're starting to, hold on to your lucky heather in your pocket or whatever you carry for the good luck at the game, listeners. But he came out and claimed them quite well. So he does show a bit of command, which I think is also reassuring for a defence that has looked fragile at times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the game probably turned for me, Ben. Don't know if you agree on that kind of should we call it a brawl? I don't think it was quite a brawl. It was certainly a touch of handbags, wasn't it? Really, between Ashley Barnes and Jay Cooper. The spark actually came earlier on. There was a moment where the referee pulled play up, but there'd been a bit of a uh, to and fro between Jake and Barnes in their box. And I think Barnes nursed a grudge, which he took down the other end of the pitch in that WrestleMania moment. I think at WrestleMania, someone called it online. I like that. I want to nick it.
Yeah, this was
But
amazing.
that's where the game turned.
This was I've not seen this sort of thing for a while. I mean, he totally lost his head.
Lost the plot.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
completely. And it did. You're right. It did come from that. Cooper was put on him, and I'm guessing Cooper's job was just to wind him up the whole game because
yeah.
that's what he was doing.
Did that well, didn't
Yeah,
it?
and much in that Cooper way, there was a ball coming in. It was in our own box, so in their box, we were attacking, and the ball came in, and Cooper's gone for it, and you know how he jumps up and just goes completely over a player. He
Yeah,
did
yeah,
that to Barnes, and he was on the floor, and then he spent about 2 or 3 minutes complaining to the referee. I think trying to get Cooper booked, basically. Um,
yeah.
and and to be honest, that's the point where the referee starts to lose control anyway.
He lost the plot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
totally.
Barnes is just relentlessly shouting at him, and the ref didn't do
Yeah,
anything. So there
yeah,
was a sort of a growing sort of feeling of you could do whatever you like to this referee. He's got no control of this game, and then
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not helped up the other end where I mean it's right in front of him. The ref can see this happening. He's pulled him to the ground. You know, he's proper going for him. It's the most
Oh yeah,
obvious straight
yeah,
red card I've seen down there,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I think the referee's completely bottled it personally.
The the Den is a difficult place to referee, but it's probably the true test of a referee to go into the. It's not been a white hot atmosphere for a long time. Then maybe they think that it's the old days are past, but it certainly came back with vengeance last night because the atmosphere went up to 11, especially when Savile and Honeyman started to carry on the debate with Barnes in midfield. He did a kind of a dual. I don't know what that's called in wrestling. I don't really follow
Yeah,
wrestling. Ben, I don't know if you're a fan of the WCW or whatever it's called, but it's like a double karate chop
yeah.
to their necks. He does that, and then again, that's a red card. But the referee had completely lost it by then.
Well,
But
I thought
great wind
the
ups.
thing I
I
thought
love that.
was brilliant about that. I mean, they like pincer moved him. They they could see they knew exactly what they were doing. And the thing I thought was funny about that is, yeah, he did do the double move, and
The double hit,
purely
yeah.
because of the two players that were doing it. It hit Savile in the chest and Honeyman in the face because of the height difference. But, but yeah, and I mean, I don't know. Maybe the referee didn't see it. Fair enough. But there's three other orange wearing melons out there that what, are they
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
watching him?
yeah.
What are they doing?
I don't know.
What's the
I
point
think
in
they
having
lose the
any of
plot. Well, there is, yeah. I mean, that's a very good question in its own right, which I don't have an answer to. But my own view, for what it's worth, and it's not an answer really, but it's they just lose their
them?
heads in the Millwall chaos. This borrowed good old Gary Rowett's catchphrase because that's what it turned into. Which, from our point of view, it's everyone that follows the Lions and listens to this show, we all know what that means. It's high drama, and that's why we want to go to Millwall. That's what we want to see. It was just wonderful to see it
Yeah,
back because that's where we thrive, and that's where 9.5 million euro players become Beckton Park level. Suddenly, they lose control. That's what it's all about. It was electric night. What I really liked, I mean, obviously, there was the sending off. Let's touch on that Savile sending off. I thought he had it gave a straight yet red for that, Ben. I thought that was a double yellow in real time. I don't know why I thought that
mm,
Savile was on a yellow and that was a second yellow because that would have made sense. But as a straight red, that was well over the top as a decision. I mean,
yeah,
it was a cynical foul. I think Joe Edwards called it cynical, and I've got to agree with that. So it was a yellow, but there was no way that was a red card. It wasn't a dangerous tackle. It was just he took his man as he was making a run
Well,
forwards.
I mean, I'm looking at that, and I think it all stems back to that first incident. The referee's totally lost control of this game.
Yeah,
And if, for the club, I mean, they should be putting in some kind of complaint or something because it was
hopefully.
so
Yeah,
bad. Like,
yeah,
we've seen
yeah,
some shit down there, Nick, and
yeah.
we've complained about referees before, but this is just completely
This is the next level, mate. This is the next
yeah.
level.
And
Yeah,
I think if you look at it from there, he goes very card happy. There was about 5 yellow cards on both sides,
yeah,
and a lot of them
yeah.
were after that incident. It was just yellow
He
cards.
just wanted it to calm down.
And I think he realised he completely lost control and needed to try and get control again. And
Yeah,
so then that tackles happened, and it is rash. The player's running towards goal, I guess, but he's not actually crossed the halfway line. So if that's coming up to the box, then it is a straight red because it's a goal scoring opportunity. But it's not a
yes,
goal
but it
scoring
wasn't. It was in the centre circle.
yeah,
There's no way,
it's not studs
scoring.
up or anything like that. It's a
No,
cynical
no.
tackle. It's a for me, it's a
It's
yellow
one for the
card.
team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so
absolutely,
I hope the
absolutely.
club appeal it, and I hope they send some kind of thing saying the PGMOL or whoever should be watching that game and having a word with the referee because
Should be watching that referee. He shouldn't be. Don't think I'd let him loose in my local
yeah,
goals five-a-side centre, let alone an electric night at the Den. I
yeah,
mean, it was a wonderful. I mean, we did well to see it out as well, Ben. That was the other thing I've noted here, that we're a slender one goal ahead. We've had a good few chances to add to it, but unfortunately, have not either been prevented by good goalkeeping or just not quite good finishing. But many's the game that we've seen in recent times, and someone put a list on of all the late goals we've conceded, where that gets away from us in the endless amounts of added time. But we did really well to see it through last night. That was another point I thought just wanted to make because
yeah,
that was strong. I thought really strong.
yeah. I was nervous about that free kick, weren't you? Right at the end.
Yes, it took a deflection. It was actually further wide because where I sit, it was hard to see how wide it was. But the fact it went wide was all I was settling for.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, I was nervous. I was nervous, and there was seemed to be more. And there's added time on added time at the end there as well, whilst the referee allowed it to try and play out to hopefully for him get a draw and everyone can call it quits. But no, what a performance! Wonderful night. Best Joe Edwards showing really since he's come to the club, and that must be a weight relieved, as we said at the start of our conversation. He looked so happy in his post match interviews.
yeah,
I recommend anyone's not seen it have a look. There's one on BBC London where you can get that for nothing. You don't have to pay for Mill TV, but he does look like he really enjoyed it last night. And as we said at the start, Ben, he sees the value of the Den. That's music to our ears, isn't it?
yeah. And all the time, I think he's learning lessons about the club and about the players. And I think the last 2 games, he's managed to get a result, and he's brought the crowd in.
Yeah,
The second half of QPR, he got the crowd involved.
he did. Yeah,
And the players as well. Give them complete credit for it. And this game I thought was perfectly managed, perfectly set up. The way the players fed off the crowd, and I think you learn more about the players as well. The ones that
yeah.
can handle the the Den at its
The
best.
Den. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and we've not seen that kind of atmosphere, for a long time. But probably in any sense, that first half of that dreaded Blackburn game was probably the last time the Den was like that.
Yeah,
And the players,
yeah. I mean, it feels like a long while, doesn't it? But
yeah.
yeah, you're right.
But last night the
Blackburn.
players
Yeah,
fed off it rather than crumbled, and I think that's
yeah.
the sort of players you need, and that's the sort of squad mentality we need.
It's strange you mentioned that because I was thinking earlier on about the Blackburn game and how the atmosphere that in that first half they're overwhelmed and the situation overwhelmed the players. And I do wonder whether it was because they know their manager sat on the bench doesn't believe in this kind of
Mm,
situation in some twisted way. I mean, how a manager can not believe in it, I don't know. But Rowett had his own set of footballing beliefs. They took us a distance. I mean, I think it's easy to turn him into like the dark villain of the night now. But I mean, we were finishing consistently in or near the playoff zone under Gary Rowett, but we didn't seem to have that extra bit that took us into the big time,
mm.
Ben. Very, very early days with Joe Edwards, but he does seem to love the big occasion, and you do get a sense that you know 2 wins now on the spin. I think it's unbeaten in 4 now. If we can get a bit of a run together, then Joe Edwards will relish the situation like that rather than be wary of it like you think Gary Rowett might have been. I don't know if I'm overplaying it, and it is early days, I know, but um, leaving the Den last night, I could, as I walked across the Silwood estate, listeners going back towards Canada Water, I could hear a monk chant off in the distance, and it's been a long while, Ben Anthony, since I can remember anything like people chanting in the street after a game,
Yeah,
and that's a tribute to Joe Edwards and the team last night, I think.
yeah. That the cloud has lifted and everyone's loud and proud again, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Man of the match, I went for George Honeyman, but I think you really could have chosen anyone you like from that team. I went for Honeyman because I just like he looks so much more effective in the middle of the park alongside Saville. They were two horrible little midfielders snapping at everyone, and I love that. That's partly what brought the Den into play last night. I went for the Honey Monster in the end, but you could. I won't fight anyone that chose somebody else.
yeah. I agree. I didn't have any problem with the very bizarre in stadium announcement. That's
Yeah, I don't like that. I thought it was a substitution. I thought they'd
yeah,
taken him out. I thought, well, he's still on the pitch. But
yeah.
because I didn't catch that it was man of the match. But um, I suppose that's all part of the transatlanticism of the way that football goes generally when we're going. It doesn't sit right with me. But
Mm,
um, oh, and another point I just wanted to make: another sellout crowd last night. I mean, I know that there's probably a lot of people saying there are empty seats. There were empty seats around me in the Groupon stand, but there weren't many of them. It was a sellout. All tickets available were sold. That's a fantastic achievement. I've never known anything like
yeah.
that ever.
You,
I've been going 50 years. I've never known it.
you was in
Yeah,
the
one or two occasions.
you was in the Groupon stand, and I was in the TripAdvisor stand. It was like a tourist attraction. It was amazing that the array of European languages surrounding me last night, Nick. Uh, it was quite amusing, and I thought, if you want an advert for bringing tourists to the Den, that's the one, isn't it? That some of them were
Well,
bewildered by what
yeah.
they were seeing in the atmosphere. There was two Germans sat behind me that I don't know what they were saying because I don't speak German, but they were
No.
the tone of voice when all the absolute bedlam was going off and the crowd were raging, and the way they were talking, it was like they'd never seen anything like it. And
Well, no. I mean, the atmosphere at German football, from what I've seen, I've never been to a German Bundesliga or Bundesliga 2 game or anything like that. I mean, it always looks pretty good when you see it on TV. But what I do think, it's like Italian football maybe, and some of the other big Spanish football, I suppose. But it looks a little bit more organised
mm,
and kind of communal. What you don't get is this kind of dysfunctional rage of
yeah,
everyone all at once. It's like it always reminds me of when you see Hogarth's images of Bedlam. Where the people go and look at the spectacle. It must have been something like that because I think that's what strikes me. And that
yeah,
there isn't this kind of one bloke with a microphone, a loudspeaker at the front, bellowing out what the chant
yeah,
is.
yeah,
It's a collective dysfunctional rage,
yeah.
which I think is
Well,
magnificent.
we don't do ultras, do we? That's not our thing. So we just have bedlam.
There was a chap in front of me. I mean, I call it the Groupon stand. I think he looked Central European of some
Mm,
sort. I don't know what. I couldn't quite detect the language. And it was one of the. It wasn't Polish, but it was something. One of those. One of the family of languages. And he was there with his girlfriend. She was actually distracted from her mobile phone. He was a football fan, clearly, because he was loving it, especially the Norwich City. You can't drive a tractor song.
mm,
I'm a wanker type of punchline, which he thought was brilliant. And even she looked up when she was asking what they were saying and what they meant. The kind of nuances of this particular chant. I had to explain in Czech. I
yeah.
don't know, but there we are.
But the other one, there's a group of about four or five. I think they were Dutch
Yeah.
fellas who were sat a couple of rows in front of me, and I think someone needs to do a bit of a health check on them because I think they decided to try every pie that was available. They honestly, they bought. I think they all had a like a sausage
That's not
roll.
advisable. That's got to go. You got to go on
Yeah,
TripAdvisor and say that. Dude.
They all had
Fabulous football venue, but don't buy their pies.
genuinely. I think they all had a sausage roll before the game, and then they went off and they all bought 2 or 3 pies each. The steak and the Balti or whatever, and they come back and they were sat there, and they had a mound of pastry. I think they were about 60% pastry, and it was unbelievable. But yeah, the state of the pies down there, I think they probably need to do a health check on them boys.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel part of this debate online myself. I mean, I'm cold blow lane enough, Ben, to remember when there was 2,000 diehards in
Yeah,
the ground. That was not brilliant. Believe me, listeners, don't buy the idea that every atmosphere at Cold Blow Lane was a white hot cauldron. It certainly wasn't. There were occasions where it was. Equally, it's kind of weird to be sat. I mean, a lady near me, I'm no problem, but she was playing whatever the game was on her phone for a lot of the time. So I think you have to kind of get used to it. It's a struggle, I must admit. I will put my hand up to struggling with it, really, because you're used to Mill being a certain thing. But by far the most predominant fan in the stadium last night was just bewitched by the atmosphere. So that's got to be a good thing. I think on balance, in a cold light of day, it's a good thing.
yeah.
Certainly as income wise is a good
The
thing,
money's
because as you say, they
unbelievable.
spend.
Yeah, they're
Scarves, the club shop was open after the game,
yeah,
people queuing up to get in there.
and they're all buying shirts and whatever. Yeah, it's making the club good money, and it needs to. That's the only way we're going to be sustainable is if we're getting that kind of
Yeah,
crowd. So I've got no problem with it whatsoever. I think and it is quite amusing at times. Um,
it does have its funny
yeah,
sides,
the poor
yeah.
stewards are working hard because the amount of beers coming into the stand as well.
Beers and vapes and God
Yeah,
knows what else is going on
every
around
game's
us. But
like
anyway,
Bermondsey Beer Festival up there now.
I
It's
don't
so
care about
funny.
all that. Good luck to you. Have a drink, boys. Don't care. Great night. On to Bristol City, who are 8th place. So that's another difficult game on New Year's Day. That's always a dry, cold situation. I don't know if what kind of travelling support will go down. I can't make that one on New Year's Day.
No.
But they're in 8th position. It's a condensed pack above us. Shall we start talking about looking upwards, Ben? We've now got an 8-point cushion between us and Queen's Park Rangers, and plenty of clubs between us. I'm going to start talking about looking upwards. We're 10 points off the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, you had a go at me a couple of weeks ago for saying we were 9 points off the playoffs.
Listen, I can't beat you. I'm going to join you. We're 10 points off the playoffs, mate.
That's not far off the sort of gap we'd have had, a year ago, the year
No,
before.
under it.
So
Yeah.
we've got to put a run together. That's the thing. We've got to continue to improve.
Yeah,
We're not the
yeah.
finished product yet. We need to improve, and we still need a
No.
bit of reinforcement in January. But there's potential now, and there's an opportunity. So this could be the turning point, but it's up to them now. The players have got to do it.
The green shoots of recovery.
Yeah.
There's a phrase for you, dear listeners. We'll finish on the green shoots of recovery. I want to say a big thank you to Ben Ansey joining me on this, was it Saturday morning? Strange doing this on a Saturday morning, but good to talk to you, Ben. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure. I was looking at this. There's a word, this whole bizarre week between Christmas and New Year where no one knows what day it is. There's a word for it. It's called the Merineum. So
the Merineum.
So we're stuck in the Merineum. There you go. You can have that one.
Thank you. The Merineum. Happy Merineum. Happy Merineum to Ben Anthony. Happy Merineum to every single listener. This is the last show of 2023. There will be a voicemail show. I'm going to do that later. Might be tomorrow, listeners. Depends on the schedule. But I'm going to try and get this out ASAP. But happy Merineum to everybody. And big thank you to Ben for joining the show. Thank you, mate.
Pleasure, mate.
Achtung, Millwall.
And finally, dear listeners, I just wanted to send my personal best wishes to That Millwall podcast, Joe Zamba, who I understand is having some hospital treatment. And I just wanted to send my own personal, and I'm sure the collective best wishes of all the listeners from all the various podcasts, video channels, and the support more widely to Joe to get well soon. So I just wanted to put this on the end of today's show. Get well soon, Joe. Let's get you back down the den very, very soon, mate. All the best. Thank you for listening, dear listeners. We'll be back with part 2 of this weekend's reaction to that wonderful win at home to Norwich. That'll be tomorrow, though, part 2 of the show, and then we'll be back after the Bristol game on New Year's Day, on Monday. So until then, thank you for listening. Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.